see.
Hi.
Hi.
Is it live? Oh, hi.
Hi.
Hi. Oh, hi.
Thanks for having me over.
Yes. Thank you for coming over.
I love your hat.
Thank you. I've got my awesome Make America Great Again hat on today.
I need one.
That my friend sent me from San Francisco.
I really like
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
I want
It's a little
a
blingy.
black and gold one.
Yeah.
Why not?
So we're going to start off today talking about.
We're going to talk about this Halloween thing. I know it's over, but let's talk about like the choices of Halloween costumes that teachers for elementary schools have made, because we've seen a few things. There's been a few things in the news or on Facebook of people wearing like half Mexico, half Build the Wall. And currently at our school district, which kind of upset me, but I want to investigate things before I get really worked up.
Yeah.
And after investigating it, I'm not too worked up. But however, I don't like politics pushed on our elementary school kids.
Yeah.
So what I witnessed is, you know, I even asked my son, who's 7, I said, well, what are the teachers? What are they? And he goes, I don't know.
Right.
And he said, but my teacher was Harry Potter, so which was interesting. But they were dressed up as Rosie the Riveter, and which is fine. It's about women and we can do it. But the thing is, what about us women who have boys too? We have elementary kids, all of us, you know, if you have children, you have them young. And why are we pushing our politics and our feelings on political things on these young children?
So for a lot of people that don't really know who Rosie the Riveter is, she was a character based on an icon of a real woman back in World War II, when women had to go to work in the factories, and it's that fight like a girl with the muscle. Yeah. And so I love her. And so Kelly and I disagree a little bit on this. I did not see the photo, but I guess my kids are no longer in our elementary school. But
I'll put it in the comments. I cut off the teacher's head. So
yeah, I mean, so some of the teachers, I guess, in our district at the elementary level decided all of the women decided to dress up as Rosie the Riveter. And as a woman, I mean, I think she's amazing. But apparently,
I actually do too. After looking it up and really investigating. But however,
I can't disagree with you. There was an element of politics.
There is.
Was brought into it.
Yeah, and the Democratic Party.
And elementary school children are going to have no idea who she is. But on the thing, it did say about teachers.
Like teacher power.
Yeah, teacher power, which is great. Which is great.
What about the men teachers? What if our boys want to grow up to be, you know, a teacher, and empower them to also do things like that? Or why can't everyone just dress up as different colored M&Ms? Or why can't everyone just dress up, I'm not saying everyone, the teachers, why could they not dress up as police officers? I mean, women and men can both be
police officers. I'm sure that there's plenty of teachers that probably have.
You know?
Right now, Rosie's a little bit, because she's a little bit more left, the Democratic Party has kind of taken on that icon as something that symbolizes their party. And so there's a little bit of that element of, you know, the left leaning, whatever. So I get what you're saying, but I'm also one of those people that as long as everybody's going to be okay with somebody, you know, dressing up as military or as police officers, if nobody's going to be complaining, then we can do some of those things, because she's a phenomenal icon.
She is.
I think for women.
But as of going right now for the midterms, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
We are, you know, as a society pushing our beliefs on our young kids. And I feel like they're too young to have this on their shoulders. So anyway, I do like Rosie the Riveter. I don't think it was appropriate for an elementary school teacher to be dressed as, because I asked my son, well, what was your teacher? Or what were he knew his teacher. What were the other teachers? I don't know, Mom.
Yeah, so he didn't even know who Rosie was. So, you know, I'm not sure what the teachers had said to the kids, if the kids were like, who are you?
Right.
You know, so I don't know what
the answer was. I really hope it was.
But I think as long as the building is open to kind of embracing that other side a little bit. I mean, what if everybody wanted to dress up as Marines and have the fake guns? Is that okay? I mean, I just, probably not. It probably isn't okay.
And, so, I mean, and then we also have in the media today, we have huge talks about the Halloween get-ups and stuff like that. How
Oh yeah, it just got so wild with Megyn Kelly.
Right,
Yeah, with
exactly.
Megyn Kelly. So on her show, she ended up getting fired talking very briefly about somebody wanting to dress up as Diana Ross. Is it inappropriate to put, darker colored makeup on you in order to be a Diana Ross, somebody that you feel is an icon? I guess being a cowboy, an Indian, a nun. I mean, at this point, I was raised Catholic. I mean, who wants to be a priest? But I mean, I guess the point is there's all of these politically incorrect people to not be. I mean, I think that there is that.
Yeah.
I don't want to see a Hitler out there. I don't want to see that racially blackface where it's just you're acting like a pig, about it or whatever. But yeah, I mean, if the one weather guy, he dressed up as the guy from Back to the Future, and I thought it was great. I mean, who cares if you want to be Diana Ross, So so that's kind of our thing. So she ends up getting fired. She also had some thoughts on the Kavanaugh stuff, and she also had some not so many great things to say about Jane Fonda, who used to be, of course, married to Ted Turner. Mm-hmm. So, Megyn Kelly appears to be out for one little tiny, one little tiny comment about Diana Ross. I just think that was a little bit.
Ken's asking why Rosie the Riveter is being political. She's being used right now in the Democratic Party.
Yeah,
so just for women empowerment, which is great. I'm for it. I'm like actually looking it up is great for, young, older people. I mean, empower kids, but empower boys and girls.
She felt like there was a little bit of a liberal agenda to the whole concept of it because the Democratic Party seems to have taken on Rosie as their girl.
I think the teachers could have chose a different costume is my point.
Yeah. I get her point. I'm for Rosie. I'm also for the Pledge of Allegiance and God being in there. And we had a big, huge thing over the holidays where a group of people actually get together every year and they decorate our Christmas tree out front of our village. Mm-hmm. And for the first time this year, somebody complained that it has said Merry Christmas. And so the village had to take that down, and it was a really, really big deal in our community. But anyway, so we just wanted to talk about that whole blackface thing and Megyn Kelly being out over wanting to be Diana Ross. And, is it a big deal to be a cowboy and an Indian anymore? It's just a little bit crazy.
People are making fun of somebody. They're actually.
It's just gotten so politically correct. I mean, how many candies can you dress up as?
Right.
It's getting a little bit wild.
I just wish Halloween, hopefully by next year, we all get their kinks out. And
so let's talk about my awesome hat and what this is representing. Nice. I decided to wear this today because it's midterms. I already did my voting. I'm sure a lot of other people already have as well. We live in a highly Democratic state.
We do.
And so I just kind of want to ask any liberals or any Democrats out there watching, what is your party's agenda? I mean, we live in a Democratic state. This state couldn't be more blue. And what are we, 49th or 50th within all 50 states as far as our finances, as far as so many things? I just don't understand. I just don't understand why this state will continue to be blue. I just don't understand it. I just don't understand it. Yeah. Maybe somebody has some really great insight why the state continues to be blue, because I just cannot figure it out for the whole history of the state. I mean, the policies, I mean, I just don't even get it. If you're against Trump, everybody is against Trump. For everybody that's a Democrat right now, they hate Donald Trump so much that's what they're against.
Yeah.
They don't even hate all of his policies. They just hate him so much that they're voting against him. So is that really a reason to go and vote blue? I mean, I just don't even.
They want to listen to the hate. They want to get on this bandwagon, and they're not sure why they actually hate him.
Well,
a lot of people are like that though. But they need to
haven't we all dated a Donald Trump at one time that was just a total nightmare pig and whatever. I mean, maybe we didn't get the handbag for it, but I mean, so I get why there's that's the side of him that I think all of us aren't really for.
Yeah.
But his policies are just absolutely amazing.
And his locker room talk is what they say, and then you got people saying grab them by the ballot. Ha!
Right.
Naked.
Which is actually kind of a smart.
Naked.
Well, it's just,
Yeah.
they got to push the envelope. They got to go to
Right.
that far,
Something to talk
that
about.
wild far left,
Grab
whatever
that
that is.
ballot there and you'll see everything. It's pretty gross.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the other thing that we wanted to talk about was the caravan.
Yes.
What does everybody think about this caravan? Is everybody for this?
I watched a live this morning with buses that are bringing people through to Mexico City today. They just arrived. And I will say half that bus sounded sick, like coughing and
oh God,
yeah,
I'm
it was
sure.
actually awful.
Oh, I'm sure. And back when slaves were imported, and I think with all of the caravans and just in general the boats used to bring everybody over from Ellis Island, I mean, a good amount of people didn't make it.
Right.
So this is a treacherous journey that these families are making and that they have for centuries trying to get to this country.
It's sad the funding that is sent to them for this, or empty promises that is given to them in this hope or whatever. I don't believe it's all women in families trying to, they want to. And they've reported that it's a whole bunch of men.
So let's talk a minute about our history with immigration, because I don't fully understand all of it, because we're talking a long time since the birth of our country, that immigration has actually been happening. And I don't really think people understand that this is just a replay of, this is a cycle. And if you don't like where our country is today, if it's that xenophobia, racism, and all of those other things that people throw into this, this is a repeat of our 1924 Immigration Act. And the reason why that was enacted was due to all of the Ellis Island immigration. The United States government protects itself primarily. And so what people don't really understand about our government is our government helps people to a certain point and then they're done. And so when they see that there's influences coming in, that it's bogging down our nation, that it's bogging down our schools, that it's bogging down our taxpayers, that it's bogging down our jobs, that it's bogging down the security of our nation. Like back in 1924, for example, we had just gotten out of World War I, and communism was a huge thing. So that was enacted to keep so we would have control over communists coming into our country. Asia and China was totally, Japan, everybody was completely cut off. So this is kind of what you're seeing with the Muslim countries that are high with Islam and all the Muslim nations and stuff. When our government decides that it's for our interest, as Homeland Security, CIA, the Department of Defense, those are the guys that are making those decisions. Those are the people that are saying to the people that we've elected in, we need to put a stop to this. We see issues in these areas. We need to start controlling a certain amount of influx of people coming in from these areas for these reasons. If you think this nation is so amazing and we are at the top of where we are economically, internationally, then you can't hate our immigration laws, because they are set up and have been set up since 1924, and they continue. And as things relax, then we relax.
Right.
But there's no way after a war with Afghanistan, after 9/11, after all of this, it's very similar to what happened with World War I. When communism was coming in, the United States government said, you know what, we need to put a stop to this. We don't know who these people are. We don't trust that they're not going to come in and make us a communist country. We don't trust that they're going to not continue to keep our country safe and want to turn us from democratic to communism.
Exactly.
And so this birthright citizenship. So let's go back to that for a second, because this is what the other part of this is. The other part of this is I didn't even realize that this birth tourism was even something that existed.
I know.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if everybody watching really understands what birth tourism is, but this has been something that's been going on for decades. And so people from China or Russia or Ukraine or other countries pay a dollar amount, and they come here for a month or whatever before their baby's born, so that their child is an American citizen. They pay a fee.
They pay $50,000 and up.
Oh, is that what they
Yeah,
pay?
I've
You
watched,
researched
yes,
it. Okay.
50,000 to 100,000.
Yeah.
to
Are
have their
we
baby
all
here.
okay with this? Because even though people are flowing in this caravan, none of us are okay with that. But I'm also not okay with this whole birth tourism citizenship. I think it's wrong. I think it's a loophole. I think it's taking advantage of our immigration laws.
Right.
And so when Trump is saying about this birthright citizenship, he's saying, first of all, precedent is set, and it is set from the Won Kim, what's the guy's name? Won Kim Ark in 1898 against the Supreme Court. Won Kim Ark was a Chinese, his family they lived here, and they would go back and forth. And back then, you could get citizenship if he was born of immigrants they lived here. The domicile had jurisdiction. And so he went up against the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court ruled in his favor in 1898. His name was Won Kim Ark, and he was a Chinese descent, and he was born on American soil. And he argued in front of the Supreme Court that he had right to citizenship when they started kind of tightening up the immigration laws back then with Ellis Island, and the federal government wanted more control of Asians, Japanese and Chinese coming into our country. They all of a sudden said, you can't come here any longer. So he went up against the government and he won. And so that birthright citizenship goes all the way back to that 1898 precedent.
Wow.
That is what all lower courts have gone to that case, in all birthright citizenship cases. And so the only people that can change the laws, of course, is Congress, which none of them have done. No matter who's in, right, Democratic or Republican, nothing ever gets changed with immigration. So the only way that birthright citizenship is going to change is going to be through Congress, which we've not seen anything in over 100 years now, almost, or longer than 100 years based on that, based on that ruling. But on the Immigration Act of 1924, there's been a couple of things. I believe it was the Johnston Act where it allowed Asians back in again. And there's been a couple of other things that came back into play to kind of, loosen the stranglehold of our immigration laws. But I think what everybody is missing in all of these talking points about immigration, these caravans, the federal government does not want all of these people coming in. It has been like this since this country's inception. And so good, bad, or indifferent, this country is made on immigrants, and it's made on the backs of slaves. And I don't think anybody is arguing that point. Right. The federal government is saying, we can no longer afford. Yeah. I mean, one of the conversations I was having with a girlfriend this weekend, where are these people living?
Exactly.
They're compounding the problem for our working poor and our poor. And our own neighborhoods.
Our own veterans on the street.
Exactly.
They need to be taken care of first. Because they're just going to join them, and then that's going to create havoc, chaos.
So for everybody that thinks this is a Trump thing, the xenophobia, this racial situation, I think you need to go back in our history books, and you actually need to kind of look at the 1924 Immigration Act, why it was enacted, why that precedent was set for Won Kim, and what really we can do to change things. And that birth tourism, is that really what we're about? Are we about people spending $50,000 to come and have children here to be citizens? Is that what we want? I don't think so. That's not what I want. So the numbers for how many people we take in every year has been set since 1924. That it's really between 700,000 to 1 million every year. And the government gets to decide from what areas they want to pick from based on certain reasons. And this is not new stuff. And so this whole talking point with Trump drives me crazy. Yeah. The xenophobia, the racist, the this, the that. Now, if you think this country is so great, and I do, I think you need to look back on why the federal government and why our Supreme Court has continued to allow the 1924 Immigration Act to stand. And so that's all that I really wanted to say about that today, because I don't think people really realize that these talking points are pointless. This is our laws, and this is our history. Our history is quite ugly, and it's not always gracious, and it's not always great. But our government takes care of our people to a point, and the rest is on you.
Well, our government also needs to take care of our veterans.
Oh, absolutely.
Take care of
our citizens.
And
our
what about
citizens.
The people that actually waited to do it legally? What about them?
Right. Well, they don't even get a say.
Right.
They don't even get a say. Yeah, they wait in line, they go through a process, and you know.
And then also, we need to, because it's midterms, obviously, we have to figure a way that there's legal ID.
Oh, absolutely.
For voting, because if you're American citizen or you're
right now, there's no ID for voting.
No, there's no, none whatsoever, and it's sickening.
Yeah,
you're gonna vote, not sure who you are.
I just don't really even know how the concept of we don't need to know who's here became an okay thing.
Exactly.
Even in immigration with Ellis Island, we knew who was here. And everybody was documented, even if they were uneducated, they were poor. We knew the federal government knew who those people were.
Who would be against?
A lot of people were against not knowing who people are.
An ID to vote.
Well, there's a lot of people who are against it. Yeah.
People that shouldn't be voting in our election.
Well, you know, for people that just think, for some reason, people just have this concept that immigration, we're just a free and open nation and a free and open country, and we always have been. No, we aren't. No, we haven't been. And I think you need to go back and look at your history. If you love this country, our history is our federal government protects its citizens from an overabundance of anything that they deem a threat, a burden, or anything else. And that's what's happening right now. That's what Donald Trump ran on. He's absolutely right.
And that's why he's doing so great.
And that's why he's doing so great. And that's why if anybody out there thinks that anybody that they have voted for the most part, they're all partisan. They work for the lobby. They stopped working for the people. And that's Republicans and Democrats. Yeah, and so that's why this guy was interesting to the average American, because the average American, as stupid as I guess everybody thinks Trump supporters are. It was so funny. My girlfriend was like, well, it's been documented that Trump supporters are just stupid. You know, not you. She's talking to me, not you. And I really, truly believe that she doesn't think that I'm a stupid, ignorant person just for voting for him. But, you know, maybe deep down she does a little. I don't know. But I'm like, well, what about all the Section 8 people and all the people who are poor that voted for Obama? What is that saying? Everybody has a say. The problem is both parties stopped working for the American people and started working for the lobby more, probably the last 30 years. So every time,
there's a huge walk away and walk with movement because of this.
Okay, so you've investigated that a little bit.
I've investigated that as well.
So I am for the president who's going to go against his Speaker of the House, and he's going to put his Congress on point and keep them on task and say, hey, if you guys can't get this birthright citizenship figured out, guess what? I'm going to take it to the Supreme Court, and I'm going to do it through executive order. So you just keep voting in all of those people that do great speeches and don't do anything, because it's not doing anything for our country. Go back, look at the history of immigration, really need to understand what this nation does for people. Look at Detroit. Detroit is such a great example of what this nation and our federal government does for the poor. Such a great example. The federal government does nothing for the poor. You get a very tiny little bit from our government. You get a little bit of help, but the rest of it is on you. That's why we are a democratic, capitalistic nation, and that's why we want it to continue to be.
Or people on the streets in San Francisco.
But there is that balance. There are too many people struggling. There is way too many people on the streets. There are way too many mentally ill people that need help. Our school systems are broken. Our children are not getting educated. And, you know, a lot of my conservative friends would not be happy that I would say this, but I am for all schools being exactly the same for everybody.
And not pushing politics again. Yeah. Like I said in the beginning, like Halloween, pushing politics on our young children.
Yeah, but school and education is the only way out, and that's the only, and children that are born in poor areas, they don't have a chance.
And empower boys
they just don't have a chance. Absolutely.
Empower boys and girls.
And girls. So he's saying Detroit, 50 years of Democratic rule. I mean, it's absolute, and so is Illinois. And Chicago is such an amazing world-class city, and it's just turned into such a dump. There's 50 million referendums on tax increases for all of us taxpayers, and even people who vote blue are like, oh my God, I only want to continue to give up so much of my own money every month. So I just think that if you're going to vote, I know you're going to vote the way you're going to vote, but I really would love for people to consider the fact that the only reason why I'm the Democratic Party stands for the tax increases are not job creation. That is all they have to offer.
Mm-hmm.
And this whole thing about healthcare.
Yeah.
I'm totally for pre-existing. Everybody, 250
Yeah.
to 300 million people have some
Most
type of
people
pre-existing
have
problem.
pre-existing problems.
So
I'm on board with that as
of
well.
course, but the problem that you have is in Congress, you have the right and the left who both are working for their lobbies.
Mhm.
They're not working for the people.
Right.
That's why nothing has really been done for
Mhm.
healthcare. Obamacare ruined healthcare.
Right.
It made it so completely unaffordable, and people are duped into these other talking points about healthcare. So healthcare used to be affordable. So now the talking point now is Republicans are against pre-existing, don't vote for them. Instead of the conversation being, why can neither party get the costs down?
For everybody.
For everybody. Why is this not the conversation? Why is this
Exactly.
not the agenda? I don't understand why this is not the agenda.
They'd rather fight.
Right. And so we're
They'd
here
rather-
today to tell you that both parties are working for their lobby. They're not working for the American people.
Mhm.
You need somebody like Trump to be in office, call out his Speaker of the House for the birthright citizenship when his Congress isn't doing their job, and going up against his own party saying, well, if you guys can't get it done, I'll just take it to the Supreme Court.
You should.
Well, because that's the way it's supposed to be done.
Yeah. Something needs to be done.
Something needs to be done. So
yeah.
you got to vote all red. Well, we have to. Well, you have to, because at this point,
we need change.
We need change, and the
Mhm.
only changes that we've seen happening are this president putting his own Congress on point,
Right.
and trying to pull people away from their lobbies. Because if immigration was such a hot topic for the left, or for the right,
Mhm.
it would have been done 30 years ago,
Mhm.
20 years ago, 10 years ago. Nothing has changed. Nothing has happened. Nothing.
And who's excited to see, to stop seeing the bashing of both parties against each other?
Here's what
All the
Kelly and I will
commercials.
tell everybody today. If today is a blue wave, if it is, we'll be very sad. Okay. But there will be no looting.
No.
There will be no rock throwing.
No rock throwing.
Yeah. There will be no temper tantrums of hate, spewing, whatever, coming from our side. No, we are not for that. We think it's a joke.
Yeah.
We think it's a total, absolute 100% joke. So we are not for that.
And the sadness, the tantrums.
I will be sad.
I'll be sad.
I'll be sad.
I'm
Yeah.
not gonna throw a tantrum and.
Well, we're just not going to get
relax.
violent. We're not going to, go in and get violent with people and do these. I mean, there might be a protest or two,
Right.
but Republicans, I have to say, conservatives overall
Are pretty.
are like, we deal with the consequences of whatever, and we'll take it to the ballot box next time, and we'll complain about it, and do whatever, and that's all fine and good. But some of this other stuff, it just has gotten so violent and so angry, and the talking points are a total farce and a total joke when it comes to immigration and our laws. If you love this nation, all these talking points, you need to be a little bit more educated in our history. And I hope that you'll take maybe some of the things that I've mentioned today, look them up for yourself, and explore it. Because you'll see that our national government looks out for its own interests. And there are certain points of time in history where isolationism is, the federal government thinks that it's. I stand behind my CIA. I stand behind my Homeland Security's decisions, our Department of Defense.
Yeah.
I stand behind
ICE.
everybody, ICE,
Back in the
everybody,
blue.
the Border Patrol,
Yes.
everybody that
The Marines
says,
were sent today.
yeah, everybody that's dealing with us on a day-to-day basis,
Mhm.
that has all of the information and says, these countries, these people, this is a problem for our nation, I'm behind.
So midterms, go out and vote.
Go out and vote, people. We have.
Let your voice be heard
Yeah.
by voting, and have conversations instead of attacks.
Yeah, go
Attacking
get
one
educated
another.
and just try to stand your ground. Be a patriot, be for the nation, and stand behind whatever the people decide. But go out and vote, especially if you're voting red.
Thanks for listening,
Bye,
guys.
guys. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Have a great day.